Hello and welcome, students. We are into the 25th video lecture of the video lecture series made on the subject of mechanics of solid, whose subject code is ME201. And the topic which we are going to discuss today is the bending stresses in beams. This particular topic is in continuation with the previous topics which we have handled in this particular subject of mechanics of solid, where I have taught you shear force and bending moment. Then I have taught you how to draw the shear force and bending moment diagram for different types of beams and for different types of loading acting on the beams. So I hope you have understood all the previous video lectures. If you have not seen, you can go to the previous video lectures and you will get an understanding of the bending moment. And now in sequence with that, I am today going to discuss about the bending stresses in beam. I am Shri Krishna Mishra, Assistant Professor in the Department of Mechanical Engineering, Suresh Gyan Vihar University, Jaipur. So basically what we are going to discuss, whenever we apply a load on a beam, always there are stresses developed on it. So generally today we are going to discuss about the bending loads. So let's start our today's discussion. We will start with the objectives of today's lecture. The objectives of today's lecture are, students, we are going to understand about an equation which is very crucial, that is known as the bending equation. We are going to understand that what is this bending equation. All right, and for that our second objective is to calculate the bending stresses developed in a beam due to the applied load. Our second objective is to calculate the value of bending stresses which are developed in a beam due to the load which is applied on it. So this will be calculated from the bending equation. So second objective is I think I can say the second objective is related to the first objective. Third is, whenever we derive a bending equation, whenever we use the bending equation, there is a word that comes which is the neutral axis. So the third objective is to understand about the neutral axis, that what is neutral axis and what is the importance or significance of neutral axis. The fourth is, we are going to understand about the modulus of resistance. We are going to understand about the modulus of resistance. What is this modulus of resistance? We are going to see. So let's move into the discussion now. Students, we have already in the previous lecture discussed that moment and shear force are set up at all sections of a beam when it is loaded with some external load. In shear force and bending moment diagram, what happens, we get a picture of the stress which is acting on the whole of the beam. In the shear force and bending moment diagram, if you will go into my previous video lecture, you will see that I have taught you about the shear force and bending moment. And first of all, we have calculated the value of shear force and bending moment, and then after we have drawn the shear force and bending moment diagram. Through these diagrams, we get a picture. Through these diagrams, students, we get a picture of how the loading is how the load is acting and how the stresses and the moments are acting across the beam. So generally the situation is like this. We used to draw the shear force diagram. Based on the load, we get a diagram which shows us that what is the value of the shear forces which will try to shear off the beam, and what is the moment that is acting on whole of the beam. Now today we are going to discuss about the method. Also previously we have discussed about the methods of estimating the bending moment and shear force at various sections of the beam and the cantilevers. And after, as a matter of fact, the bending moment at a section tends to bend or deflect the beam, and the internal stresses resist its bending. Now, one thing you should know, students, whenever you apply a bending load means the load which tries to bend the beam. Like this, you can see here in this animation, this load which is acting, this arrow is representing the load which is acting. This load is trying to bend the beam. So due to this force which is acting, which is trying to bend the beam, there are internal resistance which are developed in the beam which resist this bending. as I have already told you, stresses are what? Stresses are the internal resistance which are developed in a body whenever load is applied. So same here, whenever this bending load is applied, there is some resistance in the beam which is developed, there, which is can be known as bending stresses. The process of bending stops when every cross section sets up full resistance to the bending moment. When each and every cross section of the beam it provides full resistance to bending, then this process of bending stops. Now, basically, in short, we can say that the resistance offered by the internal stresses to the bending is called as bending stresses. The resistance offered by the internal resistance to the bending is called as internal is known as bending stresses. Those stresses which are developed which offer resistance to the bending load, they are known as bending stresses, and the theory related to bending stresses is known as theory of simple bending. Is known as the theory of simple bending. The resistance offered by internal stresses to the bending, that is known as the bending stress. And the relevant theory, the theory behind this bending stresses, or the theory of bend, this particular theory which we are going to discuss is known as the theory of bending. It is known as the theory of simple bending. Now, before going into the derivation of the bending equation, we will have to take some assumptions, because without taking an assumptions, it is not possible to find a mathematical solution to any of the natural phenomena. So always there are assumptions which are related to any equations. So what are those assumptions here in the case of theory of simple bending? Here in the case of theory of simple bending, there are some assumptions. What are those assumptions? Let's see. First assumption is that always we consider the material to be perfectly homogeneous. We always consider the material of the beam to be perfectly homogeneous. That is, it is of the same material throughout. All right, means there is no, we can say there is no foreign particle in it. It has the same property each and everywhere. All right, so we can say first assumption is the material is considered as homogeneous. All right, and it is isotropic, homogeneous and isotropic. Isotropic means same property everywhere, same elastic property in all the directions. Means elastic property means sigma x, sigma y, and sigma z. You will get the same value. So this means that your material is isotropic. We are considering, and second, we are considering that whole of the beam is made of the same material. It means it is homogeneous. Then this was the first assumption, important assumption. Second assumption is that the beam material is stressed within its elastic limit. The beam material is stressed within the elastic limit and obeys the Hooke's law. Means here we are considering that our beam will obey the Hooke's law. The third assumptions taken while deriving the bending equation is that the transverse sections which were plane before bending remains plane after bending also. All right, this is the third assumptions, that the planes which are sections which are the transverse sections. Transverse means one are the longitudinal sections, and second is the transverse section. So transverse sections are considered as plane even before the after the bending also. Each layer of the beam is free to expand or contract. Each and every layer of the beam, this whole of the beam, each and every layer of this particular black color beam, it is free to expand or contract. And the fifth assumption is the modulus of elasticity E value, the modulus of elasticity, Young's modulus of elasticity value E, will be same in tension as well as compression. All right, this is also an assumption. The final assumption is that beam is in equilibrium. That is, there is no earlier present resultant push or pull in the section. So these were the assumptions which are generally taken before starting any theory of any type. So here for the theory of simple bending, these are the assumptions which are taken. Now coming into the theory of simple bending, what we are doing, students, of the whole soul beam, this is the complete beam which you are seeing of black color, students. Of this complete beam, we are taking a small portion. We are considering a small portion of this beam. As I have highlighted with a box here, we are considering only a small portion of the beam. This particular portion, we are considering this particular We are considering this particular portion of the beam and we are zooming it out. What we are doing, we are zooming it out. This particular portion of the beam, we are zooming it out, and let this particular small portion be represented by this particular diagram, in which in which the upper plane is your AC, all right, and the lower plane is your BD, and the middle plane, the center plane is your RS. All right. Now, before bending, before the load is applied, before the bending mode has been load has been applied, all these three planes means the portion we have taken. Try to understand, students. Basically, what we have done, this particular beam, we have taken it a small portion. All right. This small portion. Now I am zooming in front of you. Now it has got a neutral layer in between. All right, this middle layer is known as the neutral layer or middle layer. All right, and you have an upper plane. This is the upper plane, and you have a lower plane. So this we have taken out, and this we are representing here. The upper plane we are representing by AC. This is the plane which I was discussing with you. This is the plane which I was discussing with you. This is the plane in which the top plane is your AC and the bottom plane is your BD and the middle plane is your RS. This is the middle plane, students. Now what will happen before bending? Nothing will be there. All these three planes will look similar, horizontal. They will look horizontal. All right. But when we have applied the load, but when we have applied the bending load, what will happen? These small planes will be bended. They will get bent. They will get bent on the application of the load. You are applying load, for example, like this. What will happen? Due to this application of load, this beam, this small portion will bend. This portion AC, this AC portion, it has also bent, and this BD is also bent, and this middle portion you can see. Now some conclusions can be taken out from this particular diagram. What conclusions can be taken out from this diagram? See, we have considered a small length. We have considered a small length of the simply supported beam, which is subjected to bending moment. This is understood. Now we have considered small sections AB and CD of this beam. We have considered the sections AC and BD of this beam. Then after what we have done, due to the action of bending moment, the beam as a whole will bend. The beam as a whole will bend due to the action of the bending moment. All right. And now if we are considering a small portion dx of the beam, this particular length, let this particular length from here to here, this particular length be equal to dx. Therefore the curvature of the beam in this length is taken to be circular. The curvature of this beam is taken to be circular. Now what we are doing here, if you will see a little consideration, if we will take a little consideration, we will see that all the layers of the beam which are originally of the same length do not remain of the same length anymore after the application. This particular line, try to understand. See, after the application of the load, what you are saying, that that AC is not particularly looking as the AC before. This AC plane or AC line which you are seeing as a line, this line AC is not looking as same as before. It has got bend. All right. And the length is also not the same. AC now is a bit smaller because previously it was straight, and now due to bending, what has happened? It has got a bit smaller. All right, the top layer, this top layer, students, basically now try to understand this particular line. What is it saying? This top layer, students, this AC, the top layer. All right, due to this application of the load, student, due to this application of the load, the top load has the top portion of the beam, this AC, the top layer of the beam, it has suffered compression and it has reduced to A dash C dash. It has reduced to A dash C dash. All right. And as we proceed towards the lower layer of the beam, if you see here, this top portion that has been compressed, as you can imagine, like this, if you use your palm and you are applying a load like this, what is happening? This inner layer, this inner layer, which we will consider if I keep my hand like this inner layer is your top layer. So this top layer is getting compressed, but not the bottom layer, not the bottom layer, that is extended. Have you ever torn any rubber? So that rubber which we use to erase something written on the paper, in that rubber, student, whenever we used to apply load, whenever we used to apply, or whenever we try to break it into two pieces, we apply load. What happens? The inside layer of the rubber, that is compressed, and the outside layer is reduced. Outside layer is getting a tensile load, and due to that tensile load on the outside layer, means the outside layer is getting extended, and due to the extension of the outside layer, there is a crack that is developed. There is a crack that is developed on the outer layer. If this is the rubber, imagine this portion ACBD as a rubber. You will see whenever you apply force on it, it gets cracks from here. What is the reason? This particular length BD, it has increased from its original length. It has increased from its original length. All right, it has increased from its original length. So due to that, their crack is developed. So that is only same thing here. It is going to tell you that the portion AC, it is compressed, and the portion that the bottom layer BT, it is getting extended. All right. And AC is reduced to A C dash. AC is reduced to A dash C dash. All right. AC is reduced to A dash C dash. As we proceed further, we will see that the bottom layer, it has been bent into R dash S dash. Now, one more important thing that you can conclude from this particular diagram, one more important conclusion which you can take from this diagram, students, that this applied load, it does not affect this middle RS layer. Though it is looking you as bent, but its length is not reduced. Its length is not reduced. So we can say that if we proceed further towards the lower layers, we find that the layer have suffered tension. These bottom layers have suffered tension, as a result of which the layers are stretched. This BD layer is stretched. All right. The amount of extension increases as we proceed lower until we come across the lowermost layer BD, which has been stressed to B dash D. All right. The amount of extension as we go beyond this, as we go deep and deep into this BD, we will see that the amount of extension also goes on increasing. Like you can take an example of whenever you would have participated in a field event like 400-meter race. So at that time, whenever you are placed, you are always placed at some. You are always placed in a way that the one which is at the outside circle, which has to cover the larger distance, that is placed somewhat a little before you. The reason is that the reason is the same thing, that as we go outside, the extension is increasing. It's the same manner here also you can relate the same concept here. Here also you can relate the same concept, and this particular part is extended and this particular part is reduced due to compression. There is one middle layer which is not affected by this particular extension or reduction. Its length is same as the original length RS. This particular layer, in fact, is known as the neutral layer. This particular layer is known as, students, the neutral layer. Now let's see what is the else. The layer above has been compressed and the layer below is stretched. The amount by which layer is compressed or stretched. Second, these are the conclusions, students, which we are now taking out from the whole of the discussion. First conclusion is that the layer above layer is compressed. All right, above layer is compressed. All right, and the lower layer RS, it is stretched. Second conclusion, the amount of this compression or stretching, it depends upon what? It depends upon the position of the layer with respect to RS. With respect to this particular middle layer, your stretching or compression, it depends on the distance from this middle layer. As we move away from this middle layer, the extent of this, the amount of this compression or stretching, this is also increased. So this third conclusion is that the layer RS, which is neither compressed nor stretched, this particular layer RS, this is known as the neutral layer or the neutral plane. And this whole of the theory is known as theory of simple bending. This whole of the theory is known as the theory of simple bending. Theory of simple bending. Moving further, students, now we will derive the equation for calculating the bending stresses which are developed in a beam when some bending load is applied on it. We are going to calculate the bending stresses, students, which are developed in a beam, when you apply the bending stresses on it. All right. So for that, let's consider again a small portion of the beam. If this is the whole soul beam, we are considering its small portion. Let this small portion be this. All right, this small portion be this, where this is your A, this is your B, this is your C, and this is your D. We have taken a small portion and we have taken the thickness of this small portion equal to dx. Sorry, the length of this small portion equal to dx. All right. Now, students, now we have taken this small portion here. This is drawn for you. All right. And in this small portion whose length is small dx, in which we are applying the load, bending load, and due to this there is bending moment which is developed in it. As a result of this bending moment, there is this small length will bend in this way. This small length will bend in this way, that it has got now, since it has got bent, students, since it has got bent, so there will be, if it has got bent, means it has formed an arc, and arc will have a center. So here in the same manner, it is bent, and if it is bent, let's consider this O as the center of the arc in which the beam has been bent. All right. Capital M represents the moment that is acting at beam. This capital M, moment which will be acting at the beam. What is moment? Whenever you apply a load, students, whenever you apply a load on any body, if it is fixed from this side, students, and you are applying a load here, for example, the load is P. We say that bending moment will be equal to what? Bending moment will be equal to this particular distance A into this load P. As I have already told you, you can also refer my previous video lecture. So in order to get the understanding of this concept, this load P into A, this will give you the value of bending moment. So let this bending moment be represented by capital M. All right. Then after, let theta represents the angle subtended by this arc at the center. Let this angle be theta, the angle subtended by this bent beam, which has been bent in the form of arc. Then after, let R be the radius of curvature of the beam. We are taking the radius of curvature. Radius of curvature means if the beam has been bent in the form of arc, then this arc will have some radius. So that radius is known as radius of curvature. The center of the arc is O, radius of curvature is R. All right. And the angle subtended by this arc at the center is theta. We have taken these terms. Now moving further, consider a small layer. Now for our derivation, we are considering a small layer PQ of it. We are considering a small layer PQ. All right. And let after compression this layer become equal to P dash Q dash. Let after compression this layer become equal to P dash Q dash, like this you can see here. Now if we have to find the decrease in length, initially the length was PQ. After, when the bending load has been applied, the length has become equal to P dash Q dash, this. So what is the change in length? Change in length will be equal to PQ minus P dash Q dash. And if we want to calculate the value of a strain we all know it is the change in length upon original length. So previously, the change in length we have denoted by del L. So del L is the change in length, and original length is what? Initially the length was PQ, so original length is PQ. So del L by PQ is your strain. Del L can be further written as PQ minus P dash Q dash. All right. Now from the geometry here in this particular geometry, you can see that these two sections OPQ and O dash R dash S. From this geometry, you can see, from this diagram, you can see, students, there are two sections. Which OPQ? One is the O, this is the P dash, and this is the Q dash. This particular section, let me join this also. This particular section. All right, and the other sections I am drawing by red. The other section is OR dash S. This is your O, students. This is your R dash, and this is your S dash. All right, these are the two sections. We can see that these two sections are very much similar to each other. They are similar to each other. How similarity is checked? One of the angle is common. All right, these and these distances are approximately same. So we can say the ratio, whenever the two sides are proportional, whenever the two triangles are similar, then the ratio of their sides are proportional. This means that if we take the ratio, if we take now, students, the ratio, we will see this P dash Q dash means this portion of the smaller triangle of this particular triangle. Of the smaller triangle means this particular triangle. So the portion P dash Q dash of this particular triangle divided by the portion R dash S dash, R dash S dash of this bigger triangle. This will be equal to the ratio of this portion R minus Y. R minus Y means this particular length, students, from here to here. This is your basically what? This is your R, because we have considered this PQ to be at a distance of Y from the neutral layer. So this particular distance can be considered as R minus Y. All right, and for the neutral layer, for the neutral layer, the radius R is your capital R. So R minus Y by R will be equal to P dash Q dash upon R dash S dash. Now putting both the sides, subtracting one on both the sides, the equation will not change. And while by doing so, what will happen? This R dash S dash minus P dash Q dash, you will get on the numerator of LHS, and this R dash S dash can be written as R dash S dash can be written as PQ. R dash S dash, you can see this is the basically what? R dash S dash is your neutral layer, middle layer, and its length is not changed. So we can write R dash S dash as just your PQ. Initially PQ, RS, all are of same length. So we, in place of R dash S dash, we can write PQ. So by writing it, we can see that PQ minus P dash Q dash you are getting in the numerator of LHS. So this is basically what? This is your change in length. This is your del L. All right. And del L and PQ represents your original L, original length. So del L by L is basically your strain. So from this equation, you can see that we are getting an equation that strain is equal to Y by R. Strain is equal to Y by R. So from this, it is obvious that the strain of a layer is proportional to its distance from the neutral axis. Strain is proportional to neutral axis. This is epsilon is basically what? Strain. And since it is equal to Y by R, Y is what? Y is the distance. Y is basically what? The distance from the neutral layer. If this is the neutral layer, this blue color, then the distance from this blue color, distance of any layer from this blue color, the distance of any layer, the distance of any layer from this blue color, that is your Y. So we can see that this epsilon is equal to Y means that epsilon is proportional to Y. We can see. So we can say that strain is always proportional to distance from the neutral axis. All right. And the second which we can derive from this is that if the strain is equal to Y by R, then we all know that stress is basically what? Stress by strain gives you elasticity. Stress by strain gives you elasticity. All right. So this means that if you want to calculate the value of stress, here it is known as bending stress, it will be equal to modulus of elasticity into your strain, which is written as epsilon. All right, which is written as epsilon. This means that, students, this means that this sigma b is equal to epsilon into. All right, now in this you will put the value of epsilon, that is a strain, as y by r, as I have derived earlier. You will get it is equal to sigma b is equal to sigma b is equal to y into e by r, y into e by r. So by this we can conclude that by this, students, we can write that sigma b divided by, take y here to into the denominator of LHS. So sigma b by y is equal to, it will be equal to how much? It will be equal to capital E by R. It will be equal to capital E by R. Sigma b by y is equal to capital E by R. This is the relation which we are getting. This relation is very important. It is giving you a relation which we will use in numerical in order to calculate the bending stresses. So let's now solve numerical in order to understanding of this particular topic. This formula is important. You keep it in mind. Sigma b by y is equal to E by R. All right. Y is basically the distance from the neutral axis. Now this is the numerical, students. First of all, we read what numerical is saying. What are the values given in the numerical? Firstly, the diameter is given. The diameter of the steel wire is given to you. All right. And it is bent into a circular shape of 5 meter radius. It is bent, a steel wire, it has been bent into a circular shape of 5 meter radius. All right. Then after, what is the maximum stress that will be used in the wire? So here also you have been given the diameter of the wire. All right. It has been bent into a circular shape of 5 meter radius. So radius of curvature, this is basically what? This is your radius of curvature. You can write it by capital R. Then we have to find the maximum stress, means we have to find the maximum bending stress which will be developed in the wire. We can take the value of modulus of elasticity. We can take the value of modulus of elasticity as 200 gigapascal. Now 5 meter is your basically what? Radius of curvature, but since it is in meter, we will convert it into mm. We will convert it into mm by multiplying with 10 to the power 3. And modulus of elasticity which is given to us, is 200 gigapascal. So this is your modulus of elasticity. All right. Now we know that distance from neutral of a wire and its extreme fiber. How we will neutral axis? How it is very simple. Neutral axis, extreme layer or extreme fiber of this wire will be at what distance from the neutral axis? If this is the box, students, and if this is the neutral axis, then this extreme fiber means this particular portion, outside portion, this will be at what distance from this blue color neutral axis? It will be at a distance, this whole, if this is whole is your y, if those whole is, for example, is your d, neutral axis will be at distance d. All right. I think I'm telling you, students, that this y we will take equal to d by 2. D is 5 given to you, so it will be your 2.5 mm. All right. So why we have obtained modulus of elasticity, they have given to you. Radius of curvature also you have calculated in mm, and why we have seen that it is equal to half of diameter. Putting all these values, you will get the bending stress. Bending stress is equal to, students, 100 megapascal. Then after moving further, students, this is the second numerical. What the numerical is saying here, a copper wire is there of 2 mm diameter and it is required to be wound around a drum. We have to find the minimum radius of the drum if the stresses in the wire is not to exceed 80 megapascal. We can take the modulus of elasticity for the copper as 100 gigapascal. So here students, again, you can see so in this question, as you can see, students, that the wire diameter is given to us as 2 mm. 2 mm is the wire diameter. All right, and it is required to be wound around a drum. Now, the second thing which has been given is we have been provided with the stress, that the stress is not to exceed the value of 80 megapascal. And the third thing that is given to us is the modulus of elasticity for the copper, that is 100 gigapascal. So basically this is your value of capital E. Then stress value, this is your stress value written by sigma, and this 2 mm is the diameter of the wire, means this is the value of d which you will take it. Small d, you write it by small d. So these are the parameters which are given to us. Now students, see, first of all we all know how we will calculate the distance from the neutral axis of the outermost fiber. The distance of the outermost fiber from the neutral axis, if this is the wire, and for example if I am drawing its side view, it will look something like this, and the neutral axis, this will be the neutral axis. Now from neutral axis, the outermost fiber distance will be half of the diameter. It is very obvious, it will be equal to diameter divided by 2. Now here the diameter of wire which is given to us is how much? It is equal to 2 mm. So d by 2 means 2 by 2. D by 2 means 2 by 2. This will give us the value of wire, the distance between the neutral axis of the wire and its extreme fiber is equal to 1 mm. Alright, after the calculation of this y, value of y, now we can use the equation of bending stress, which says that, what is the equation of bending stress? According to the equation of bending stress, it is equal to sigma by y is equal to sigma by y is equal to E divided by the radius of curvature r. So from this relation students, you can see that this r can be written as y upon sigma b. Sigma b is generally the maximum value of bending stress. Therefore if you don't write maximum, then also it is okay, or you can write also maximum value. Then finally when you will calculate, we have the bending stress value already given as 80 megapascal. There is no need to change the unit. Then you have the value of a modulus of elasticity as 100 gigapascal. This has to be changed because gigapascal, it is in gigapascal. This means it is in equal to 10 to the power 3 megapascal. So you will have to multiply this value with 10 to the power 3. After that, when you will simplify, when you will calculate, you will find that the value of radius of curvature which you are getting is equal to 1.25. The value of radius of curvature which you will get from here is equal to 1.25. So I hope you have understood how we have calculated the radius of curvature in this particular numerical. Let us now discuss some multiple choice questions. We are starting with MCQ number 1. Let's read out what is the question asking with us. In the question, this is our MCQ number 1, student. In this you can see, this is our MCQ number 1. Here you can see, student, in this MCQ, the question is saying that a beam is said to be of uniform strength if, so a beam is said to be of uniform strength if there are options A, BM means bending moment is same throughout the beam. Second option, shear stress is same throughout the beam. Third, deflection is same throughout the beam. Fourth, bending stress is same at every section along the longitudinal axis. So we have seen that in case of uniform strength, one thing that is common is that a beam which will have uniform strength, that will have same value of bending stress at each and every section along its longitudinal axis. The bending stress will be same at each and every section of a beam which is considered to be of uniform strength. So option D is the correct option. Correct answer is the answer D. All right. This was our multiple choice question number 1. Coming into the next multiple choice question. This is our next multiple choice question, students. And what is the question saying to us? The question is saying that stress in a beam due to simple bending is dash. And now what are the options? Option A here is stress in a beam due to simple bending is directly proportional, or inversely proportional, or curvilinearly related, or none of the mentioned. So we have studied in today's lecture that stress in a beam due to simple bending is directly proportional. All right, so here option A is the correct option. All right, moving into the third multiple choice question, student. This is our third MCQ. And what is the question saying? Let's read out. The question is saying that what is the expression of the bending equation? So we have already discussed this and we will discuss more on it in the next video lecture also. The bending equation is your this m upon I is equal to sigma y is equal to E upon R. Half of it we have already derived, that sigma m upon I is sigma y is equal to E by R. This we have already derived, and we have also solved the numerical, and we have calculated the bending stress if the radius of curvature and modulus of elasticity and even the value of y, which is the distance from the neutral axis, is given to us. Then after, student, the next is question number 4. Question number 4 says that on bending of a beam, which is the layer which is neither elongated nor shortened? We all know, students, that so option 4, question 4 has got the answer. Then after question 5th has also got the answer, and the answer is how much? On bending of a beam, which is the layer which is neither elongated and nor shortened, is your which layer? It is known as the neutral axis. It is your neutral axis. On bending of a beam, the layer which is neither elongated nor shortened is your option B, that is neutral axis. Coming into the next multiple choice question, that is our question number 6. What is the question saying to us? The question is saying that the bending stress is dash, and the options are directly proportional to the distance of layer from the neutral axis, B inversely proportional to the distance of the layer from the neutral axis, C directly proportional to the neutral axis, and the 4 does not depend on the distance from the neutral axis. So as you have already studied that bending stress, which is denoted by sigma B, all right, it is directly proportional to the distance. Therefore we write sigma B by y is equal to we write E by R. This means that from this relation we can say that bending stress is sigma B is directly proportional to y. So option A student, option A is the correct option. Here in this case, option A is the correct answer, that bending stress is directly proportional to the distance of the layer from the neutral axis. This was your question number 6. Moving into question number 7, student. For bending equation to be valid, the radius of curvature of the beam after bending should be, the options are equal to its transverse dimensions, B is infinity, C is very large compared to transverse dimension, and D is double its transverse dimensions. So we all know that for bending equation to be valid, the radius of curvature of the beam after bending should be very large as compared to transverse dimension. The radius of curvature should be very large as compared to transverse dimension if we want to use the bending equation. So option C is the correct options. This was your question number 7, student. Now moving further, coming into the next multiple choice question, question number 8. What is the question saying to us? First of all, let's read out. The question is saying that the neutral axis of a beam coincides with, so we all know that generally the neutral axis of the beam coincides with the centroid or center of gravity of the material. The neutral axis of the beam, center of gravity is generally somewhere here if we consider of a rectangle, and we have seen that neutral axis passes through the center of gravity, that is centroid. So option D, which is saying that axis passing through centroid coincides with neutral axis. This is the correct option. Other options like passing through bottom of the beam, or passing through h by 2 from the bottom, or passing through h by 3 from the bottom, these are not the correct options. Coming into the next multiple choice question, which is the MCQ number 9. What is the question saying to us? The question is saying that the moment of inertia of a rectangular section about its any axis is given by, so this is already, we know this is a common sense type of question, that moment of inertia I, we all know, is equal to, about any axis of a rectangle is equal to BD Q. Moment of inertia is equal to BD Q divided by 12. All right. So this means that student, here option, in all the option we can see that option first, BD cube by 12, this is the correct option. So coming into the next multiple choice question, MCQ number 9. Moment of resistance of a beam is equal to safe maximum bending moment to which it can be subjected, is equal to any bending moment to which it can be subjected, is equal to or less than maximum bending moment to which it can be subjected. So in all the options you can see that moment of resistance is basically is equal to safe maximum bending moment to which it can be subjected. Safe maximum bending moment to which it can be subjected. Alright, so option A is the correct option. It is not important to read all the options because first option itself has given the correct answer. Then the next multiple choice question is section modulus of a beam is always given by formula. So we all know that section modulus Z, we denote section modulus by Z, it is always equal to I by Y. It is always equal to I by Y. So Z is equal to I by Y. You can see here one thing you should keep, that Y here we have two options, C and D, both are looking same. But in C you can see it has Y maximum. Y maximum means we will have to take the maximum value of Y, and this is correct. Among the options C and D, you can see the one which is saying that the value of Y should be maximum. It will be maximum because it is the distance of the outermost fiber from the neutral axis. So C is the correct option. In all the options, C is the student correct options. So this was our MCQ number 10. All the multiple choice questions we have discussed, students. Now I hope you have understood today's lecture. For your self-study, you can use references. You can use some references, students. You can use the references which are given in the screen. These are all good books, all are famous writers, all the books are very popular books, and you can get in-depth understanding of the subject using these books. So for today, students, that's enough. Thank you, students. Thank you all. Thank you and have a nice day.